Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is January the 2nd, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. I'm hanging out, I'm chilling. The avid listeners might be noticing this drops a little bit sooner than usual. I'm still in holiday mode for my last day. But yeah, we're getting back to the grind tomorrow. Bittersweet. But yeah, it's been nice hanging out. It's been nice chilling, seeing some friends and stuff too throughout. So, we love it. I do have a good food corner for the day to bring to you. At least for me, it was. I got a little experimental, and I pretty much made tortas again. I know I've done that before. That's not really new. But I used the bolillo rolls, and I know how to pronounce them. I'm finally there after like eating them for 2 months or whatever. But two of those bad boys, opened them up, dressed them all down, and essentially just took like the meat and the refried bean and all that kind of stuff that I normally would just put over rice. Just cram those motherfuckers, cram that shit right in there. And it was really good. It was really yummy. I don't know why I did this. I was definitely just being a little porcupine. And I made a side of ramen just because. And I had some chips. So yeah, that all happened. It was pretty good. I'm not saying it's beating the catfish fish bowl, but has ever done it? Probably just say catfish bowl. Whatever. Anyway. But it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Let's see here. There's really nothing else to report on the personal news front. Let me go ahead and rev up, and then we'll get into some news. Hopefully your New Year's is starting off well. I'm not gonna lie. I already, I know not much has happened, but I already feel like, man, let's get to 2025. Can I get a mulligan already? That's just on anxiety, I think. But we'll get everything done. Ooh yeah. Okay. From CNN. South Korean opposition leader recovering from surgery after being stabbed in the neck. South Korea's main opposition party leader, Lee Jae-myung, is recovering from surgery after being stabbed in the neck during a visit to the southern city of Busan on Tuesday. Lee underwent a vein reconstruction surgery and is recovering in the intensive care unit. Democratic spokesperson Kwon Chil Seong said Lee was touring the construction site of the Da Da De oh man, I'm messing it up already. Da Dekidyo new airport and talking to reporters when he was attacked, leaving the politician with a 1 centimeter laceration on the left side of his neck, Kwan said in an earlier statement. Lee suffered suspected damage to his jugular vein, and doctors were concerned he may have additional bleeding, Kwan said, citing doctors. Kwan described the attempt on Lee's life as an act of terrorism and a serious threat to democracy. Earlier in the day, the Democratic Party floor leader Hong Ik-pyo said Lee was in a conscious state in the hospital. So that's good. Hopefully, he's going to be all good and pulls through. I don't know in terms of him and, running in the future how that's going to be, but I'm hoping that he's going to be able to run again. I don't know. The assailant, who was arrested at the scene, is a man in his 60s, according to Busan police. He approached Lee for an autograph before carrying out the attack with an 18 centimeter or 7-inch long knife purchased online, police said in a briefing. Let's see here. South Korea's President Yoon Suk Yeol expressed deep concern for Lee's safety after the attack, according to the presidential office. Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, obviously very unfortunate that an attack like this happened. They do reference some other attacks that have taken place in, recently in South Korea. Um, at least going back to like 2006, uh, up to even 2022. But yeah, I mean, obviously, anytime these kind of things happen, it's unfortunate. Good that the person was apprehended, and that also that Lee, just wasn't instantly killed or anything like that. Um, but yeah, let me go ahead and move on to the next beat. I know we have some more news to cover from the Japan Times. Dozens killed as Japan assesses damage from massive quake. Authorities in Japan on Tuesday rest to assess the damage the day after a powerful earthquake left at least 48 dead, which I believe the last time I've checked the number is 55, at least, led to landslides and the collapse of multiple buildings. Sparked a large scale fire in a popular tourist area and triggered a tsunami warning for the length of the nation's west coast. Continuing aftershocks, rubble on roadways, and damaged roads were hampering rescue operations amid a race to find survivors. Let's see here. The 7.6 magnitude earthquake, which at its center was rated the highest level 7 on Japan's Shindo intensity scale, struck Ishikawa's prefecture's Noto Peninsula on Monday afternoon as the nation was marking New Year's Day, when families generally gather at home and many shops are closed. I will say, like, obviously, it's very unfortunate. It sucks in these kind of situations, especially when it's a holiday time. So it's like, okay, you're usually at your most relaxed, and then something like this happens. And then next thing you know, your home, your own home, is like a literal like grave. Like, and if you don't get out of it, you could die. And then I think something that I mention sometimes, I fail to mention others, but like the aftershocks, the aftermath of a earthquake is so ongoing that like you can't even go back into your home. Like you have to like find either a shelter or you have to wind up sleeping outside, things like that. It can be just so traumatic, so devastating. But something I want to add that even though, hearing a number like 55, that is very sad, it's very upsetting. It is remarkable that the number is so low for a magnitude earthquake of this size, and especially the amount of damage it's done to so much of Japan. So, and I think like a big reference that comes to mind, and also one that, was laid out to me when I was listening to BBC earlier, was like thinking about Turkey of last year, how the numbers were so high. And, we're talking thousands and thousands of people who have died and were devastated by this hurricane, or I keep saying hurricane, I'm sorry, earthquake. And yet you have in Japan, because of the preparation, the awareness, making sure that everyone from the kids to the adults are educated on what you need to do in an earthquake and where you need to go, that kind of stuff. And really, once again, from the government, from the nation state, saying, hey, we are going to invest in good infrastructure. So even though yes, there was a lot of damage, there was a lot of buildings, homes, and stuff like that were collapsed, there was still a lot of infrastructure that held and did collapse the way it was supposed to in a safer way. So I think that's something that is really important to take into account. And even though this is devastating, and if there is any updates I hear, I'll try to keep you all posted. But at least that's in some ways something I kind of wanted to shout out as a silver lining, that like when your government, your nation state actually invests in your protection, it really does pay off in ways. So yeah, but obviously condolences to the people going through it in Japan, and a bit of a double whammy here from Reuters. 5 dead after JAL airliner crashes into quake aid plane at Tokyo airport. See here. All 379 people aboard a Japan Airlines or JAL plane escaped the burning airliner after a collision with a Coast Guard aircraft at Tokyo's Haneda Airport that killed 5 of the 6 crew on the smaller craft on Tuesday. Live footage on public broadcaster NHK showed the JAL Airbus airliner burst into flames as it skidded down the tarmac shortly before 6 p.m. Video and images shared on social media showed passengers shouting inside the plane's smoke-filled cabin and running across the tarmac after escaping via an evacuation slide. So yeah, I mean, this is very crazy, very just massive explosion. I know I have it in the thumbnail, but it is good that all of the passengers and crew were able to make it out. Obviously, unfortunate from the smaller aircraft's perspective. I believe what is the National Coast Guard. I'm not sure. I think the investigation is still ongoing. I know they were cleared, or at least it was said that they were cleared to land. So I don't know why that situation happened where there was a sort of collision upon getting onto the tarmac. I imagine that is something that is going to be investigated, and maybe more is going to be revealed there. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because this is in relation to aid that was going to earthquake victims in Japan. Naturally you have this on top of it, but good that, once again, that at least in one of these planes, no one was killed. Everyone made it out alive. Especially once again, when you see the footage, it's just like, holy shit, this plane's literally engulfed in flames, and it just, but everyone was able to get out. So that's fucking dope. That's great. We love to see that part. You got to talk about the good news when and where you fucking can. All right. On that note, we have one more thing to cover. I will say this one's a bit of a double whammy, and I love when a news article kind of combines things for us, makes it easier. So that way I can just kind of give you guys a 2-for-1. We don't have to really cover it across two different sites. There you go. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, you know what this means. I'm going to take my last break, and then we will get into it. Ooh-wee. All right. Our last article is from the Associated Press. Israel is pulling thousands of troops from Gaza in a possible precursor to a scaled-back offensive. The Israeli military confirmed Monday that it was pulling thousands of troops out of Gaza Strip, a step that could clear the way for a new long-term phase of lower intensity fighting against the Hamas militant group. The confirmation of the planned troop drawdown came the same day that Israel's Supreme Court struck down a key component of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's contentious judicial overhaul plan. While the plan is not directly connected to the war effort, it was a source of deep divisions inside Israel and had threatened the military's readiness before October 7th Hamas attack that triggered the ongoing war. Politicians warned against reigniting those divisions and harming the national unity that has prevailed throughout the Israel-Hamas war. So yeah, it is interesting that they are doing this kind of quote-unquote scale back of actual troops. They're saying hey, we did this mobilization and we really want to try to scale this back, at least getting people who reservists, that's what I'm looking for. Older reservists especially, to get them kind of back home, integrated back into normal society, or at least kind of a bit of a rotation, because this is a shock to the economy in a negative way, and we want to get people back to that. Especially, we're also saying that, hey, this is going to be a long-term thing. So that, to me, kind of says that, hey, maybe in some ways on the surface you want to say, well, that's good news. Maybe that's going to be what people were kind of saying, and it's going to be less intensive and more people are going to be saved by this. But I highly doubt that, sadly. This is me being a bit of a skeptic, but I'm sure that any of these aerial strikes and bombardments are going to still keep happening. There's still going to be a ground presence. It's not like it's not like the IDF are completely leaving. They're just going to do what they are saying is going to be more tactical. So, there's that. We'll see how that goes into the future. But it is interesting that the Supreme Court did shoot down the Kessanet, essentially trying to get this more control. We'll see what happens from that. That was something that we were kind of covering last year, as well as Benjamin Netanyahu's, corruption trial that he's trying to beat, trying to overcome. Benjamin Netanyahu's made a lot of deals with a lot of devils to get where he's at, to continue to stay in power. And it's seeming that, hey, you can't, like, this isn't going away. It's not disappearing. But that being said, I've said this before as well, like, as much as I want, like, I'm rooting, for, the Supreme Court in a weird way in the situation to win out, and they can at least keep their control in the situation so that this hyper right wing Kessanet or legislative, doesn't get to just like completely have full control, no veto, like no one can veto them, no one can stop them. This just feels so isolated in the conversation at play when we're talking about Israel and Palestine. And when you say, hey, yeah, we want you guys to have, your liberal freedoms. You want you guys to be a true democracy. We would hate to see Benjamin Netanyahu just win out and just, have full control. But like, you're not giving that to people literally right next to you. You know what I mean? That's just crazy to me when I think about it. So in that regard, it's kind of frustrating, but I know that this shit is still going to keep playing out, and I want more liberal heads to prevail. I think that that's the best case scenario in the future going forward. So, there's that. But yeah, there's this article from the Associated Press. There's also one from CBS News. Israel Supreme Court deals Netanyahu a political blow as Israeli military starts moving troops out of Gaza. Looks like a lot of places are kind of bundling this too. So feel free to read one of those two articles to get the full details. I'm going to call it an episode there. Tongue-tied ass. But yeah, let's see here. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Citizen News. I shout you out at the top of the month. Plug your name, plug a project if you'd like. Feel free to hit me or the podcast. Oh, no, sorry. Email. That's important. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. And then feel free to hit me or the podcast up on any social you're on. Then also please subscribe to the YouTube. That helps out a lot. And comments are cool. Thumbs up are cool. Hit the bell to keep up with the episodes. And you can do that on any listening app you're on right now. So yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.